Welcome, everybody. It is build day. Today we're building something very personally exciting for me. This is the first time I'm building a keyboard designed by a friend, which is pretty cool. This is the Daal. It is a 60% keyboard designed by my friend Ankit. The case was designed by Holly and the PC was designed by Sleep Dealer. And mine is an HHKB. This did come in when keyless as well, which as we all know is cursed, so I got HHKB. It is an 8% typing angle keyboard, and also, exciting for me, it is my first plateless keyboard. So this is plateless, and it is O-ring isolation mount. You'll see exactly how that manifests here in a bit, but this is a pretty cool keyboard overall, and I'm quite excited to have my hands on and build. It was very nice of Ankit to see to it that I got one. And I've been looking forward to having more HHKBs in the collection, so pretty great all around. As always, we'll start with the unboxing, or uncasing experience, if you will. Mine is unit number 9. Oops, not right side up. There we go. Unit number 9. There were about 50 of these made in the production run. In our top pocket here, we've got a really lovely authenticity card here, which, come on camera, there you go, which has the layout, the unit number, the link to the build guide, all that good stuff. Love to see something like that. I've got the build guide open off screen here. We've got a baggie we'll come back to because there's quite a bit going on in here. We've got this baggie, which we'll come back to because the case will make this make more sense. And then up top here, we've got 2 PCBs. All of them, as far as I know, came with 2 PCBs, which is pretty cool. Since this is plateless, you are more or less bound to solder this board together, which is why we're at the solder station for this video. But here's the backside branding. Man, my camera is not happy about it. There we go. Pretty nice. I like that. You can see the front side here. These leaves here are where the O-rings go. So we'll actually be snapping off these pieces here, and then the O-rings wrap around these and kind of interface with the case on the top and bottom. So pretty cool. I like that it comes with 2. That's nice. Able to kind of build out 2 separate configurations. That is everything up top here, and then we've got the chassis itself, actually already assembled in this lovely purple microfiber cloth. This is wrapped up in here more times than I have remembered every time so far when I've opened it to inspect and all that. There we go. All right. So there is the case. The Daal came in silver, so mine is silver. There is a black unit out there that I believe was a custom unit for someone, and Ankit has a pink one that he had Cerakoted that looks quite nice, but I do like the plain silver. It's my first silver board, actually, so that's pretty cool. Got this really nice kind of satiny sort of finish on it, and then we've got a nice big internal brass weight there with some incorrect engraving on it. This is not Proto 3, this is a production unit, but it was designed by Ankit Works in 2022. Little daughter board sticking out there, so pretty clean and simple, which I dig. I really like the aesthetic of this board. This little scoop here is quite nice. I like the little angled lip on the back here as well, which is actually yeah, really nice. I like that. Very simple, very clean. I think it's actually why it's called Daal. Daal is a and I'm almost certain I'm pronouncing that at least slightly wrong, is an Indian cuisine that is a very simple, reliable dish I believe that was the way Ankit described it, so apt. Love the way this looks. Okay, so this first baggie has a new, or replacement rather, unified daughter board. The one that came, I don't understand why it says unified. I assume that's a joke that I don't have enough context for. The one that's in here was fine during the proto runs, but then for some reason in the production units, nothing changed design-wise. The daughter board was shorting against the case, so Ankit was right on top of it, and I got new daughter boards out to everyone with a mitigation for that, so that's great. We'll swap that out real quick during the build process today. And then we're going to tuck this away for the moment, and then we'll look at the other bag now that we've got context for the build here. We're starting at the soldering station because we'll need to deal with the PCB first, but I always like to show all the parts right away. All right, so quite a bit going on in here, like I said. Okay, there we go. Actually, when you're looking at it, it's less than I maybe described it as. So, our O-rings for our mount, we've got little short ones for the front, longer ones for the back. At least I think that's correct. Whichever way they go, there's two different sizes. So we got those right here. We've got our feet. And then, oh, I thought there was more in there. The case is already screwed together. I was looking at the whole parts list over here, and I was like, wait, there's a lot we haven't looked at yet. No, we're good. We're good. And then we've got two LEDs here. These are green. One goes under caps lock to show when caps lock is on, and one goes under escape as a layer indicator, which is pretty cool. So we're going to leave those on the solder mat here because we're going to need those. And that's, yeah, so that's the mounting system, which I think is pretty cool. That they're just these little O-rings. I think it's pretty clever. I'm a big fan of McMaster, the online hardware store, I guess kind of in person as well. The hardware store, regardless of how you access it. And a lot of, if not all the mounting hardware in this board actually came from McMaster, including those O-rings. That's pretty cool that they're just like an off-the-shelf, non-custom part that still perfectly fit in kind of the context of keyboards as a whole. I think that's pretty neat. I'm just looking off screen here at the specs page. I think we've got all this covered. 8-degree typing angle, HHKB, MX, plateless, isolated O-ring. Isolated because the PCB doesn't touch the case in any way. Only, if you assemble it correctly, only the O-ring is in contact with the case. So should be pretty great in that regard. I've never typed plateless before. I've got a half plate 65 I've built, but this will be my first completely plateless experience. It's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. This also uses vial firmware out of the box. Also nice to see, which is great. So that's everything, I believe, spec-wise here. I'm gonna flip over to the build guide again, just off screen here, and we can close that tab as well. So even called out in the build guide, which is fantastic. Always test your PCB, especially if it's a solder PCB. Just always check it before you start building. I have checked both with both daughter boards off screen already, so I won't bore you with that, but definitely check your PCBs before you build. It'd be terrible to solder a board together and then find out it never worked to begin with. That's, yeah, no fun, no good. Check the PCBs, vial, yep, cool. So step 1 is checking everything. Step 2 is actually soldering up your PCB and putting your stabilizers in. So let's finish off the parts list here, and then I will speed run through the soldering. You don't need to watch that in real time. That would not make for very good content. The stabilizers are closer to me, so I will start with those. We are using TX Rev 3 stabilizers. These are lubed with Krytox 205 grade 0 on the housings, and Krytox XHT BDZ on the wires. Pretty much the way I always do stabilizers, nothing too wild there. The switches I am really excited about. For some reason, I have this like, it really is seemingly like a pattern at this point. Whenever I have a solder build, I always seem to end up wanting to use switches that I've never used before and commit them to a solder build. The last time was actually the Oil Kings in that half plate 65 build. And the reason I picked the Oil Kings and why I'm using the cherry black clear tops, I'm going to call them Nixies from now on. I know it's not technically correct, but I'm not saying that whole name every time. The reason I'm using Nixies, and the same reason I picked Oil Kings for that build, is because they're a very what I would call body-heavy switch. You really hear the housing of the switch during the typing, which in a plateless build is going to be a larger source of the sound than it would be when you have a plate that you're also hearing. So that's why I wanted to go with a more, again, body-heavy, air quotes, not sure if that's a common term, that's the way I describe it, switch. The way I prepped these, so as with all cherry switches, the Nixies are pretty scratchy when you get them. So I broke these in 600,000 cycles, 100,000 on center, 100,000 off center in each of the 4 orientations, and then another 100,000 on center, so 600,000 actuations total. Lubed with Krytox 205 grade 0 on the stem only. I did not lube the housing at all. I bag lubed and spring swapped to some much lighter springs. Am I just too close to my camera today? There we go. Some Sprit Extreme 4 55 gram slow springs from the significantly heavier, significantly shorter springs that come with these. And then I used Desky's switch films in them because cherry housings are typically a little looser than I like things to be. So I'm not sure if you can even see the film in there. But so these are pretty heavily modified Nixies, but still have quite a body-heavy sound to them. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be putting on here. I don't intend really to talk through any of the soldering process because it's not that interesting. You've seen me do it before. The one note that I've heard before for plateless builds, and Ankit makes the same note in the build guide, is to solder in one leg and then solder in the other leg while you're pressing against the switch from the other side, like ensuring it is straight. I'm pretty confident with the tolerances of the cherry legs compared to this PCB that I'm just going to send it, and anything that is crooked, I will go back and fix by doing exactly that, reheating one of the pins and twisting the switch until it's lined up. Now, do we break off the wings before or after we solder? Oh, before, actually. That's the end of step 1. So I'm going to do that with y'all because I've never done that before, so I think that could be interesting. The guide recommends using a pair of pliers or side cutters. I've got some broad-nosed pliers here that I think are just about the right size here. I imagine that these are here, and I think I said as much earlier. For production, I can see jig holes in them where they probably would have been held during production. And I imagine also for shipping, they're probably left on to protect these would be my best approximation. So let me just grab this here and twist. Oh yeah, yep. I expected more of a snap, but it's more like a slow yield of the glass fibers in the FR4. There you go. So nothing too dramatic, actually. Yep, that's great. All right, we'll do the other side here. Gonna start near the end. The longer ones are at the top where the bigger O-rings go. So I'm gonna get this off in, looks like 2 bites. Add it here. Oh, a little bit more up the front. There you go. There you go. And there you go. All right. Easy peasy. I believe Gion's board, the W1AT, has a similar thing for the switch alignment jigs. It comes with where you break off the FR4. It's not horribly smooth, but it's also less rough than I would have imagined as a texture. And obviously, you're not touching it during use. But they came off. I'm not sure if that'll show on camera. It's pretty thin. They came off quite clean, so that's great. I love that. Usually, you need to put like stabs in before your switches and all that, but since we're plateless, everything's all backwards and upside down. So I'm gonna get soldering here, get the old fume extractor out and get set up, and I will see y'all either on the other side, if all the soldering goes well, or I will see you in just a jump cut from now if something has gone kind of sideways. So, see you when I see ya. There's just something real nice about that. That just looks right. I don't know what it is. As I suspected, the cherry legs on these switches, they are very robustly placed in there. Also, I forgot to call out, this is actually using an RP brain, which is pretty cool. Don't think I've ever seen that before. That just looks right. I don't know what it is. Don't let me forget the LEDs. There's a very strong chance I'll forget them if y'all don't tell me. So make sure to leave a comment telling me to put the LEDs in. Looks good. On to soldering. Alright, so we are all soldered up here. I've got the old daughter board under the bottom here I was just testing, and you can see our little layer indicator works, which is great. Caps lock doesn't work yet because that's control in the default map, not caps lock. So I'm going to quick test that, but then all of our soldering's complete, all of our switches tested out. I'm going to cut from this camera here, and I'm going to reset everything over in the normal build area, and I'll see you on the other side. But this was an absolute pleasure to solder. This was super easy. The Nixies fit really well into this particular PCB, and next up is stabilizers, and then we're on to assembly. Alright, and now we're over at the build desk as promised for assembly. Now that we're done with all the soldery bits. Did test the caps lock LED. We're in great shape there. Everything checks out in vial. We're looking real good. In the segment that no one asked to continue, but I'm rolling with it. Today we're drinking a Nitro Vanilla Pepsi. These are insane if you've never had one of these before. It says drink in a glass, but I don't follow rules. Also, I'm lazy. All right. Next step, stabilizers. So, like I said, we're using, wow, just nudged everything there. We're using TX Rev 3 stabilizers. You'll notice on this PCB, we've got spaces for 7 or 8U wires. I forgot to mention, this board actually does support a 10U spacebar, should you want to do something so horrible to a board so nice. But you can do it. So, I don't know. There you go. I tried a 10U board recently. Not about it. Honestly, 7U's not my thing. I'm a 6.25 guy. That is neither here nor there. I do think 7U is at its best on HHKB, so, you know, take what we can get. Man, those are stiff stabs. Oh, do I have it in backwards? I haven't installed stabilizers in a minute. Hang on. Yeah, nope, I had it in the right direction. This is just, you know, the clips on TX stabs, how they be. TX recently did drop revision 4, which is also known as TX AP, almost perfect stabilizers. And they are, in fact, almost perfect. They have a significant number of improvements in the housing tolerances and that sort of thing that do make them really almost perfect. I'm quite impressed. I'm not using them today because I had exactly this much of a set left of Rev 3 stabs. So I am using them up, and the Rev 3 are fine in my opinion, but the AP ones are almost perfect. I suppose I can talk about them a bit actually while I'm putting these in. The stem grew, so there is less wobble between the stem and the housing on them. The wires seem identical, and then on the housing itself, the clips seem to go in easier, and also the little spot where the wire clips into the housing, that like little jaw there, the entry to it is ever so slightly rounded on the AP ones, so getting the wire clipped in is also easier. So a number of little creature comforts, which is great. I think iterative stuff like that is awesome and was kind of missing in the hobby. Duroc kind of did V2 stabs and then that was it. But Stabies and TX have continued to improve upon their formula, which is very, very good to see. You hate to see a product that's like, almost got it, and then there's just kind of never another version. Not so good, but not so with TX. They know what's going on. Speaking of using up TX parts, I'm using up some of my little shim wheels here. They send you 4 too many shims on each wheel, I think. 2 too many, something like that. So I end up with a lot of partial wheels. So I'm just trying to, use up parts where I can. But not very many stabs on HHKB or even really 65, the way I build them. Just return, left shift, and space. So we get to use up some scraps of a kit and use up some of these shims here. Bit of a completionist when it comes to using stuff like that. This tray is pretty cool. Actually, it's titanium and brass Thok made it. It is incredibly heavy, and the finish on this titanium part doesn't really show up on camera, but it's kind of, it's shiny. Obviously, it's catching the light there, but it's also kind of matte in that way titanium does. Big fan. Looks great. All right. Test. We need to test the stabilizers. I realized I forgot to say this in the first part. I'm using GMK Modo Light today for keycaps. I've not decided what accent color yet. Just grabbed pink return because that was the closer one in my JTK box. Here, nope, not an escape key. That's not stabilized. Wow, act like you've done this before, Ian. Come on, left shift. Let me make sure my escape is stabilized. Good. Goodness gracious, Ian. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to use GMK Modo Light for the caps, and then the sound test is going to be GMK Modo Light versus OTC Modo Light. So it'd be nice to get a comparison out of those. I have not done that one yet. Let's see how we're doing. Great. Great. That sounded pretty good to me. I'm happy with that. Let's get these out of here. I think I was kind of torn on what set to use for this. I've got a number of sets that I thought would look good on silver. So I asked my friends for a little help in picking, and we narrowed it down to Modo Light, and then that works well because I can do the Modo Light OTC versus GMK sound comparison for thematic consistency. I just realized I need to go grab an artisan keycap. I neglected to do that. Although, maybe I'll do the plastic accent. I don't know. I guess we'll see when we get there. I have the appropriate Rama if I do want to do that. Okay. Step 2, complete. We have done our stabs and our switches. It is O-ring time. Now, I did want to check here real quick. We have the specs of these O-rings, including their hardness, which I wanted to call out. Since the Envoy video, where they specifically say that it's a 70A hardness for the solid block, that now has me curious about other keyboards, and specifically their mounting styles. The Tadpole's a good one because it's available in so many specified hardnesses. Okay, so these O-rings are 75A hardness, so just a little harder than the solid blocks in the Envoy, but plateless, so obviously a much different experience. Also pretty cool, since we have the specs for all that stuff, and they're just McMaster parts, theoretically I could actually get softer O-rings to try if I wanted, and they were available in the same size, so maybe some of that to come. But I think Ankit said he tried multiple different O-rings, and 75 was the sweet spot. Not that 75 was the sweet spot, or I would have remembered, but that whatever he picked was the sweet spot, which ended up being 75. Man, these stretch more and less than I thought they would, if that makes sense. It feels like I'm gonna break them, but then they fall right into place in a kind of satisfying way. So there you go. That's where your isolation comes from. There is O-ring above and below these fins on the PCB that the case grabs onto. So there you go. I think that's a really cool implementation. I am excited to try this. So that's step 3. Much faster than soldering in step 2. Step 5 is now we're actually getting into assembly here. You may notice there's a whole bunch of screws in this tray. I've actually already taken apart the board because I needed to extract the daughter board to test the PCB in the middle of all the soldering steps, because like I didn't want to solder in the LEDs until I made sure my switches were good, etc., etc. So all that to say, I've already taken the board apart, which I believe was step 4. Yes, step 4 is taking it apart. So done. Hey, we did it. Look at us go. Yeah, we're just in assembly section here. So what I did find while I was taking the board apart is under the weight there's some cute little engraving, which I love. I love little details like that. Oh, and the camera's not going to want to think it should focus on that because there's like, it's all silver. So there's a little heart next to the tray for the daughter board cable, which is very cute. And then a little Daal 1 of 50 marking. Not that this is unit 1 of 50, but that there are 50 of them. And this is one of them. How cool is that? And then what's normally here is the internal brass weight, which is very thin and not as heavy as I expected, but does add a pretty significant amount of mass. And I think a lot of people add these into their board designs, these internal brass weights, because the way sound reflects off of brass is quite different than how it reflects off of aluminum. So if I'm recalling correctly, that's why a lot of these end up existing. Open to being wrong on that, but I believe I'm recalling correctly. So let's get our updated daughter board in here. Steal the cable back from the original one. There we go. Make sure my JST connectors are aligned here. Very nice, very nice. All right, and we have got a couple button head screws here. All right, we got that in. Now we're gonna put the weight back in. So we're just gonna fish the daughter board cable through the hole. It goes through the square hole. And then we're gonna screw the weight back down, which uses Phillips screws for some reason. Not totally sure why, although it's not something you're supposed to be like taken in and out a lot, so fair enough. Oh, I guess maybe to make them low profile enough. Counter sunk and counter bore hex hardware, I think, takes up volumetrically a little more space, so I'm willing to bet that's probably why, because these are very, very short screws. I bet that's it. And the brass weight's clear coated as well, so I'm not terribly worried about leaving finger oils on it, though I don't like leaving traces of myself inside keyboards, so gonna be a little mindful with that. That's great. We can get Phillips out of here. Okay, so now, so then it's the next step are the little instructions on the trickiness of getting this in. So rest the PCB vertically on the big tabs. I see. Okay, so the pins are at the bottom. The pins are at the bottom. That is a little tricky. Does standing this up help? Is that perhaps what it means? There's also a little video clip in the build guide. You know what? I should just watch that, actually. It's there on purpose. I'm not sure why I'm trying to be a hero. Bam. YouTube link. Make sure it's muted. No copyright strikes. Stand him up. Oh, I was standing it up in the wrong place. All right. Yeah, see, that's why there's a video. So I'm going to pre-bend this cable a little bit so it's pointing in the right orientation. Fair enough. Yeah, okay. See, this is why you put video clips. So I read that as standing the tabs up in their final home up here. Right there. That makes sense. feel like I still don't have quite enough slack for that to be as easy as the video looked. I'm also trying to do it so I can like show camera, which actually, now that I've turned it sideways, maybe even better than I originally had it. So, you know, it's the weekend. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect on weekdays. Oh, there we go. Yep, okay, I'll need to remember how tight that is. Not how tight the port is, but how short of a leash that is next time I take this apart. Okay, there we go. Neato burrito. So now that it's kind of resting in here, let's zoom in. You can see. Actually, it really only wiggles up and down, side to side motion. There's very little. Oh, and it's actually not aligned side to side either. There we go. So it looks like it's touching. Why isn't there we go? Yep. So I'm sure if I read the instructions here when I look up, it's going to say something. Align the PCB vertically and horizontally. Yep, that's on me. Okay. Oh boy. Great build guide. You just have to read it, which I'm bad at today. Yeah. Dig it, man. So the only thing touching now are the O-rings. I can't even really feel like I'm making it bottom out. That's great. And that's pushing, you know, real hard, but there's a good amount of flex there. So wonderful. I'm going to get the microfiber cloth ready because I'm about to flip this on its face. Ooh, wait. Quick sip. It is better in a glass. The Pepsi Corporation's correct on that. All right. And so we're going to go like this. There's these little alignment features around the case. You can only put it on the right way. And it helps align the two pieces. So even before you put the screws in, there's really very little play between them. I'm going to scooch that over there. I'm going to get the feet out of the way. I'm going to throw my microfiber cloth down. As not to scuff the board before I even get to use it. There we go. We're going to flip her on over here. Like so. That is a lovely purple that this microfiber cloth is. That was a weird sense. Said that like Yoda for some reason. Boy, howdy. It is a good thing I'm not doing anything terribly important today. Ooh, what is all that? Oh. I wonder what that's from. Oh, probably from my work mat. There was something that looked like that on the inside of my color checker too. I wonder what the... Oh, now it's on my solder mat too. Okay, clearly I've got like some schmutz or something on one of my surfaces. All the more reason to have the microfiber cloth down. All right, and now in the build guide, it does say to tighten the screws in a cross pattern. As is the theme for this build, I have already gone slightly out of order. But ultimately, what is most important is that you do 2 screws directly across from each other first. This is not new if you've been watching this channel for a while. We always tighten stuff in a cross pattern when given the option. So you get your 2, oh, that dropped right in, that was pretty cool. So you get your 2 opposing corners, pick another side, do your 2 opposing corners again. Make sure we're feeling nice and aligned. I feel like we're pretty darn close, if not perfect. And then the build guide calls out this kind of V shape in the middle. So that one there. That one there. And this one here. I love the way 18/8 stainless steel hardware from McMaster, well, probably any 18/8 stainless steel hardware looks, but it's just a nice classic, like not industrial, but like heavy duty look that I like. Let me get my polishing cloth here. Wherever that schmutz is on my work surface, make sure that's off of there. I love how simple this is on the bottom too. No logo or writing or anything. So let's put some feet on now. Just again, simple, clean, just little clear bump-ons. Not reinventing the wheel here. I recently learned that when someone uses the phrase reinventing the wheel, they don't mean the wheel, they mean the axle. Because, you know, there's like
have had this discussion before where it's like, what do you mean reinventing the wheel? Like, round stuff falls downhill all the time. Humans didn't need to invent that. What people really mean is the invention of the axle, making the wheel useful, which I think is credited to the Romans, but really seems like one of those things that was probably figured out way before them. They probably, like, I don't know, perfected it. But yeah, when someone says don't reinvent the wheel, they don't mean the wheel. Nature did that. Axles, though. That's us, baby. Humans #1 at inventing axles. There we go. All right. Awesome. Make sure there's no weird build surface schmutz anywhere else on my new baby here. No, oh man, that looks awesome. I love the way keyboards look before you put the keycaps on them. I mean, and after the keycaps are on, but like, I don't know. It's just, you know, right into the surface there. Okay, so now it doesn't easily like wiggle in any orientation, but it is nice and flexy. Pretty stiff in the corners where the O-ring are. That makes sense though. Okay. Wicked. Step 5, align PCB, put in screws. Step 6, put on some keycaps, take some fire photos, and post your keyboard. Well, I'm doing a video, so take it or leave it on Keat. I think you'd prefer a video anyway. My photography skills are all right. All right, but we do need to put on some keycaps. First, though, being the incredibly, I'm a little stitious person that I am, we are going to make sure that this bad boy still checks out. Oh, right. Vile makes you do this weird, like, unlocking thing that I don't completely understand, where you need to hold down the 2 keys it tells you to until a progress bar fills up. I don't know what it's doing when it goes into this state, but, like, whatever makes it happy, I suppose. Just going through and making sure we don't have any shorts or any switches that maybe I did a bad solder joint and it broke. See our caps lock LED there. I'm going to turn that back to control because I don't use caps lock. Layer. I like that. That's cool. That's a fun little feature. I think I've got a couple of keycap sets that have shine through escape caps. Like maybe I think Red Alert does, which is actually currently on my thermal, my other HHKB, but anyway. That's great. Everything checks out. We're gonna go back to the key map here and we're gonna put this back to left control. The bottom row is already all correct. Fantastic. Can you do grave escape in Vile? Or when you do shift escape, you still get tilde? Is that a thing? Tilde, whatever. Quantum keys. Yep, there it is. Okay, so we're gonna do grave escape. I think the rest of that is as I would use it. And then layer 1, F1 through 12. Wonderful. Okay, and I can tweak with anything else without y'all needing to watch that. That's great. Okay, cool. I am going to move this board over here, find out what the weird schmutz is all over my build mat that is now on my solder mat, and then put on some keycaps, and we'll be back for final thoughts before we jump into the sound tests. All right. About that, I think Moto Light was a great decision. That looks awesome on here. Big fan of that. Give the B camera some love here. Looks great, right? I love that side profile. That's awesome. Very clean. I wouldn't call it a light keyboard, but it's like, it's very satisfactorily dense. Like when I pick it up, it feels like it's how heavy it looks. If you're into keyboards, that makes sense. If you're not into keyboards, I probably sound like an insane person. Also, if you're not into keyboards, why'd you watch this video this long? Thank you, like, subscribe, but what the hell? Yeah, oh man, this is great. I need more silver keyboards. Oh no, this looks awesome. Damn it. I didn't know I liked silver keyboards this much till right this moment. Man. So simple, so clean. Just the right mix of stuff to make a really great, I feel like pretty portable keyboard, because again, it's not like heinously heavy, like packed full of brass like some keyboards can be, and I think is enjoyable under certain circumstances. But it's just right. It's, yeah. The sound's very consistent. I like the bounce is really subtle, which I think is because of the stiffer O-rings, that it does feel softer as you get away from the O-rings towards the middle. Even up to the edges, you can tell. But it's not like the whole thing's like a trampoline, you know? I like that a lot. I really, really, really like that. That's very, very good. Well done, Ankit. This is awesome. Big fan of that. Big fan of that. I think that's awesome. So again, right now we've got GMK Moto Light on here. Its opponent, if you will, in the sound test will be Omnitype's OTC Moto Light, which is their PBT dye sublimation version of this same keycap set. Should be pretty cool. Nice comparison. I've been wanting to try this for a while, so this is a great excuse to finally do so and give both a shot, and to give both a shot right side by side. So thank you all so much for watching. Like the video if you did, comment if you have questions, and why don't you subscribe if you loved it. It's free, there's no commitment, and you can unsubscribe the moment you're bored of watching a guy talk about keyboards. Thanks for watching.